for joining us for this episode.
pounds of methamphetamine while investigating 3,043 narcotics cases. Both of these were records.
moist, it's going to be wet, it's going to be some standing water.
Okay.
Or if it's big enough, you'll see flowing water coming down and running into the gutter pan.
Okay. And then that again,
Right now. Throughout my career, and now there's the law in place for when you see the yellow, please, it is the law to move over. In our vehicles, sometimes we have the radio on, sometimes we have headsets and things like this that does, lessen your hearing and your awareness about what's around you, but that is the chief responsibility of a driver in a motor vehicle, is just to be really aware of their surroundings and not let those inherent distractions of a motor vehicle and maybe electronic devices kind of get in your way.
And you see the same thing?
Yeah, and you often have a secondary accident when you have something like that. People aren't slowing down quite quick enough, and then they kind of get in there too fast and lose control.
Okay, well, that is our time for this segment. Thank you for joining us for Inside Town Hall. When we come back, we're going to learn more about the new proposed Metro 911 Communication Center. We'll be back in just a moment.
So many people in the Sioux Empire could benefit from having a mentor, an ongoing one-to-one relationship to help another person achieve success in the world benefits everyone. Please support and promote the Sioux 52 initiative at your place of work by encouraging your employees to give 1 hour a week to mentoring. That's it. Just 1 hour a week, 52 hours a year. Let's build a community of mentors so our region of opportunity provides opportunity for everyone.
Welcome back to Inside Town Hall. I'm Madeline Shields. Joining me is City Councilor Rick Kiley, and his guest is Scott McMahon, the Metro Communications Director. We are talking about a new proposed Metro Communications facility. Talk a little bit about why do we need a new facility?
Well, thank you very much. In a nutshell, the current facility is old and worn out, and we simply cannot expand because the size of our staff is greatly expanding as the population of the city expands. And we're trying to take advantage of the construction, we hope the construction of a new public safety training facility, by also incorporating Metro 911 into that, because there's a lot of cost savings associated in doing so versus just building a standalone Metro 911 dispatch center. And we are very fortunate to have Scott McMahon with us today. Scott's in his first year with us as Director of Metro 911. He came down from Watertown, South Dakota, so it's Watertown's loss, but it certainly is our gain, because he has just brought a wealth of information and expertise along with him.
Well, Scott, since you're relatively new to Sioux Falls,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My background was in law enforcement. I spent 25 years with the Watertown Police Department. The last 10 of those years was primarily focused on operations of the 911 Center in Watertown, which happens to serve a 6-county area around Kyneton County and Watertown. So even though we didn't have the population base that Sioux Falls did or does, we had more area to cover up in that area, and there were more resources as far as first responders and so forth through a wider area. than it is here.
So you were dealing with a lot of probably volunteer firefighters
Yes.
and ambulance crews and how to coordinate all of them and get everybody on the same page.
Absolutely.
Is it easier when you're dealing with one group or two groups? You have the Sioux Falls Police
Sure.
Department and the Sioux Falls Fire.
Correct. Sioux Falls is extremely fortunate to have the public safety services that we have here. Beginning with the communications center, the law enforcement base that we have, the fire services, EMS, emergency management. People in Sioux Falls should feel very well protected. Sioux Falls and Minnehaha County, just have excellent services from what I've been able to see in the first year that I've been on board.
And you still came, even though you saw, I think Councilor Kiley described our current dispatch center as woefully inadequate, that people are crammed in there. We've done other shows about
Sure.
this in the past, and this isn't new information for our viewers that, and you still came, even though you knew you were coming into a place that is worn out.
Sure, absolutely. I'm always looking for the next challenge in life, and looking at the facilities that we're currently in. Our current facility was built in the late 70s, and so Metro Communications has been in its existing area of that facility basically since the 80s, so almost 40 years. And it really wasn't designed to be in the area that it's in today.
Sure.
What has happened over the course of 40 years is it's been remodeled, expanded into what was previously police or jail space. So really we're trying to make do with the best we can with the space that we have, but we really don't have any more room to expand at our current facility. And there's a situation, like Councilor Kiley says, our backup center that certainly we have to look at that, make sure that we have redundant operations.
Over those 40 years, Sioux Falls has grown
Yes.
immensely. So tell us, how do your dispatchers answer those calls in those cramped conditions? How are they communicating, and how do they not get distracted by other things that are going on around them?
Well, fortunately, technology is able to reduce some of the noise. Just recently, we went to a new next-gen 911 telephone system, and through those processes, we actually have a voice message now, so that they don't have to answer the phone every time and say, "Hi, this is so-and-so at Metro Communications." There's actually a recorded message. What that does is it cuts down on the noise level in the center. So through technology, that's helped. Of course, workstations where that they're designed to be ergonomically correct. They also are designed to try and reduce noise from one council to another. So some of those types of things we've done over the years to try and make it as work friendly as we can for the staff that are working there.
Talk a little bit about this proposed dispatch center. You have confidence that this and the police and fire training center will all be approved. They'll be in the same place. If you want to remind our viewers where this facility will go.
This facility would be located, if it is approved by all of my colleagues on the Sioux Falls City Council. I'm hopeful that it will. We have both received very positive input on that. It would be up in the northeast corner of the city, near 60th Street North and Sycamore Avenue. And it's, as I've mentioned previously, just in the last 10 years, we've added 30,000 residents to the city of Sioux Falls. So the call volume for our Metro 911 dispatchers has increased from 191,000 to over 245,000 calls. And I'd also like to add to what Scott had mentioned, that while they're dealing with incidents, they actually have individuals speaking in both ears, different people, and to try to do that in that kind of an environment, and in this old environment that we're in, which was originally designed for a jail, and with concrete floors above them, sometimes just somebody pushing a cart across the floor above our dispatchers makes it almost impossible for them to hear. So that just adds to the necessity of moving into really an up-to-date, state-of-the-art facility.
So this current facility, if and when the new facility is built, you will still use this current facility that you're in?
Sure, absolutely. As Councilor Kiley said, we answer more than 310,000 telephone calls a year into our 911 center. Almost 90,000 of those are 911 emergency calls for service. So we want to make sure that we have full redundant capabilities so that if something would happen at one 911 center, the other center would be fully activated and be able to accomplish the same work task between the two centers. So what our plan is to leave our current facility in full operational status and have that as a backup site should something fail at the new facilities. And now when you talk about failures, there's just so many things that can happen in today's environment, whether that's some type of a gas leak or a telephone line disconnect, interruption of some type, a fiber line being cut, just those types of things that we don't think about every day. And then of course on top of that, as Councilor Kiley has mentioned, we have to make sure we have hardened facilities that meet today's threats that are out there, whether that's some type of threat upon a facility or threat upon staff, whatever it might be. We need to have the facilities to make sure we're prepared for that. And then of course you have natural weather incidents, whether that's a tornado or a flood, or sometimes even just high winds can cause damage. So if our main center is damaged in any way at all, we have to make sure we have the backup facility there. And that's what our current facility be, is a great backup center.
You talked about 300,000 calls, and a portion of them are emergency calls.
Yes.
What are the other calls that you are answering that are not those critical emergency calls?
Sure. To break that down, it's about 310,000 telephone calls per year, about 90,000 911 calls, 160,000 actually, business line calls coming into the center for various reasons. And then, of course, we have about another 55,000 calls a year that are outgoing calls to respond back to maybe a 911 call hang up, or to just respond back to somebody's needs. So as Councilor Kiley said, that also produces, those 310,000 phone calls produce about 245,000 incidents where a police personnel, fire, or EMS needs to respond to somebody's house for a service. So that's kind of a breakdown in the numbers.
These numbers, when you hear those, are they alarming to you? And this, do you have a responsibility to the citizens of Sioux Falls to make sure that this system does not fail and that it continues to be state of the art?
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to the citizens. Metro 911 is the tip of the spear when it comes to our emergency response procedure. If that call does not go through, the fire department isn't dispatched, the police department's not dispatched, the ambulance is not dispatched. So it all starts with Metro 911. And as we've discussed with our current facilities, we have 11 councils that are in operation, 2 partial councils, but our backup center only has 6. So imagine this past September when we had 3 tornadoes go through the city of Sioux Falls. If something would have happened to our primary center, we would have then relied on a backup center that only has 6 councils. I'm not sure that we could have done it. They were pressed to their limits the way it is. So once again, this isn't just a want, but in my mind, this is really a necessity. As I've mentioned previously, public safety has always been one of my #1 objectives, because everybody wants to feel safe in their homes and in the city of Sioux Falls. And that, again, begins with that call to Metro 911.
In fact, if I could just speak to that for a minute, the evening of the tornadoes, we answered over 600 phone calls between 11 o'clock that evening and 6 o'clock that morning. On an average day, a 24-hour day, we answered about 850 telephone calls. So just that short period that night, we did bring extra staff that night. We had about 20 people that were working throughout the hours of 11 till about 3 a.m. But we answered, like I said, over 600 calls in that short amount of time. And that's the justification of why we need to look towards maybe as many as 20 councils in our new facility, because all it takes is for one incident, one natural disaster or some other type of event where we need to bring in extra staff and we have to have seats for those people to sit.
Is it an all hands on deck when there's severe weather or a blizzard, or what other circumstances might there be?
Usually it is natural weather type things, whether that's a flood or tornado event or just severe thunderstorms, can cause us to bring in additional staff. But we have to plan for other things as well, whether that is some type of civil event, a protest event, whatever it might be, where we might all of a sudden begin receiving extra calls into our center, and we have to be prepared for that. So I think with this new facility, planning for not only today's needs, but this is going to be a facility that we're likely going to be in for the next 30 or 40 years, just like we have been in our current facility for 40 years. And that's a nice thing about communication centers. They're relatively inexpensive when you look at our budgets, but our main expense is staff. Every once in a while, every 30, 40 years, we have to look at a new facility, and that's where our costs come in. But fortunately, we have quite a bit of funding that comes from the state side for our 911 services.
Okay, well, great. Well, and when can we expect to know whether this facility is approved?
Once again, hopefully this will be coming before the council, along with the bonding of the Public Safety Training Center sometime in April, so that we can get started with the construction in 2020 and then have it available to us in 2022.
And if people want to look online, they can go to siouxfalls.org to find more information about this?
Yes, they can.
Okay, all right. Well, great. Well, thank you for joining us for
Thank
Inside
you.
Town Hall. And that's our time. If you would like to find out more information, go to siouxfalls.org. Thanks for watching.